All right, welcome back to episode 2. I hope you guys were encouraged. I don't know if you managed to hear our very first episode. And I was just so inspired by some of the amazing, life-changing stories of those who have heard the good news. And this week, actually, my guest here, we're going to get some of the inside scoop, okay, from those who have shared the gospel with others, their struggles, their fears, but also the eventual triumphs, So I'm really excited about it. Today, I have with me Joseph, I have Geraldine, and Jack. Now, Jack, fun fact, actually, she's the mom of Dave, who was on our last episode. So if you haven't heard that yet, make sure you do, because he also has an incredible story of how his mom actually helped him to encounter Jesus. So don't miss it, okay? Well, thank you guys for joining me today. I really admire the three of you especially. I think you have such incredible stories of sharing the gospel to somebody else. But I know it doesn't come without some challenges, right? I believe, that actually anyone can share the gospel, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the faith. It doesn't matter what your experience is or what your role in church is. Joseph is one of our pastors here, amazing evangelist too. But the gospel is for everybody. Anyone can receive it. But I also know that it's not always so natural or so easy to share the gospel. Yeah. And the three of you have some really cool stories to tell, So maybe let's start with this. If you can put it very simply for us, tell us what motivates you to share the gospel.
Okay, for me, it would be knowing the fact that God loves me so much. Yeah. I felt so loved. And because as a child, I don't feel particularly loved by my parents. And I think the only person I felt loved was my sister, like that she loved me, that's all. And I questioned why was I even born. So I began to question about life. And after accepting Jesus, I realized how much God loved me, that Jesus would die for me. And even how terrible I was as a child. I was used to swear words, vulgarity, all sorts of things. And I would abuse my sister. Yeah. I would abuse my sister emotionally, stuff like that. But yet, God can forgive me.
Yeah.
And this love is so great that I just want others to know and to experience it also.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know, just knowing that God is so real in my life.
Yeah.
And that Jesus is the only thing that satisfies. And so just seeing how He has transformed my life, those around me, I just feel like it's too good to keep to myself.
Yeah. I think about this, right? If I know that there's a really good sale going on, I don't know, I'm not going to just keep it to myself. I'm posting on Instagram, right? I'm telling everyone, go check this one out, right?
Go buy one for one McDonald's.
No, if there's a 1-for-1 sale, count me in, I'm definitely there. But we want to share it, right? We want to tell somebody about it. Yeah, that's so good. How about you, Joseph?
Yeah, no, it's similar to what Jack and Geraldine have shared. Like, I've received so much from Jesus, better than the best sale that we can ever have.
True story.
Completely free.
Yeah, completely free, and salvation is free.
Yes.
You get joy, you get identity, you get purpose, you get meaning, love, unconditional love.
Yeah, that's such a good deal.
It's the best deal.
So good.
You can't beat that, and it just flows out, and you desire so much that someone else has that.
Yeah.
And also, I think there's the few joys that top someone coming to know Jesus.
Yeah. So good.
Whether it's family member, whether it's friend, whether it's a neighbor, and they give their life to Jesus. Wow, that joy just motivates you.
No, I don't think you ever forget that first person that you lead to Jesus. I told someone before, I feel like it's almost addictive sometimes. Like you're like, oh my word, that's so good. I want to do it again. I want to see someone else come to know
I like
Jesus
that
again.
godly addiction.
It's a godly addiction, just to make it clear. And so maybe you guys can share, you might have an experience, a memorable experience, a significant experience that you've had when you shared the gospel with someone, and maybe just share that with us.
Yeah, well, for me, recently I met up with a schoolmate of mine. Actually, we didn't plan to meet. We were at this prata shop in Casuarina.
Good things happen at prata
good
shops.
Things happen.
Yeah, that's right.
And the prata is especially crispy there.
Tell me the name of the place after this.
Yeah, Upper Thompson. But anyways,
Good. Yeah, that's a good practice.
and I was actually praying for my schoolmates to be saved. You know, I believe that God can save my generation.
That's so good.
And I was and suddenly I saw this guy and I recognized him.
Yeah.
It took him a while to recognize me. And we just got talking. We sat down, we ate together, and then it led to the next meeting. He comes from a religious background, but I don't think he has a relationship with Jesus. And about the third time I met up with him, and he was just so hungry for spiritual things and to know the truth and all that. And as we went on, I just felt to ask him, would you like to receive Jesus?
Yeah.
And he said yes.
Amazing.
And I was so glad. And we exchanged stories. And
Like right at the prata shop.
at the Prata shop, Prata was secondary at that point.
Yeah.
Salvation came first. But after that, the Prata tasted better.
It tastes better when you're changed
It does.
pastor.
True,
It does.
true,
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, well, mine didn't happen at Prata shop. My grandma's a Taoist, and I grew up in a very staunch Taoist environment. And so she found out, and then we were just talking, and there were lots of tears. It was like the second time in my life seeing my grandma cry. And I just remember asking her, like, it was a really blunt and honest conversation. I asked her, like, why would you believe in a God that would send you to hell? And she was like, well, you know, this was like in Chinese. She was like, you know, we do bad things in life. There are consequences for that. And I was like, that's exactly what my God came to do. Like, my God, Jesus came to free us from that. And then I shared the gospel with her. And I'm just so amazed. And I think that's probably one of my most memorable times I shared the gospel with someone, just because it's like, it's my grandma who I grew up respecting so much. I feared her, but then I also really loved her. And it's so crazy because I never would have thought that I could have inserted the gospel into a conversation with my grandma, who's
Amazing.
so opposed to it. And I'm still believing for her salvation. But to me, that's already a huge step.
It
Yeah,
is.
Yeah.
that's awesome. Yeah, just starting the conversation is step one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, that's really good. How about you, Jack?
Okay, for me, I think sharing my faith, the good news with my mom was my most memorable experience. Okay, so I became a Christian when I was in my teens, and my parents were so against it, especially my mom. Okay, she was so angry, she felt so betrayed, and then because during that time I was the only one who helped her to burn the joss sticks in the house to all her gods, and it was very physically challenging for her to do so. So she felt that I've turned my back on her. Why do I even turn to other gods? To her, it's the Ang Moh God.
Yeah.
And so what happened is it was very tough as a first believer in the family at that time. But after more than 20 years of sharing with her, praying with her, with my two other siblings who came to know the Lord along the way, so there was one day she called me and asked me that my brother, who's in our church at that time, invited her to an outreach. And then she asked me, should I go? I mean, she knew what I would say. She just wanted affirmation, I guess.
Sure.
So I had the longest conversation with her in my life. And I told her, and I shared the gospel with her again. And then I shared my testimonies of how God loved us, about God's love, provision for us. And she was not negative. She didn't ridicule me during that whole conversation. She listened. Then that evening, she went with my dad. And I was very certain they were ready. So they gave their hearts to Jesus that night.
Amazing.
And actually 2 weeks later, they got baptized, removed the idols in the house.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually, I mean, although I'm not the one who actually said the sinner's prayer with her, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I had the chance, the opportunity and privilege
Yeah.
to share with her.
Yeah.
And I mean, going from there, she actually became very enthusiastic. You know, she really brought people to church and Christ. And it's really memorable because seeing her from someone who was so against Christianity
Yes.
and to someone who actually prayed for her family every night, naming one by one. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm very thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thankful.
yeah, that's amazing. You came from a generation of people who prayed for your family. Like you prayed for your son, right? Last week, that was 2 weeks ago. The last episode was about that. But then your mother also prays for you
Yes.
guys. That's awesome. And I think sometimes I think with Geraldine and Jack, you both shared about how you shared the gospel with someone in your family, right? And I think like sometimes that can be a bit challenging because people that are closest to you can also, it's harder to share with
Yeah.
them, something like that. I just wonder, like maybe you guys can all, weigh in a bit. What goes on in your head? How do you overcome some of these things that are, some of the struggles or before saying it out, like sharing it, having that long conversation that you were.
Okay, maybe one of the example would be my brother. I have two brothers who have yet to know the Lord. And one of them actually will ridicule me.
Okay.
So the fear of being ridiculed by him is so great. But there was an opportunity where I tell myself, okay, I'm going to share. Because he's rejecting Jesus, not me. And if I were to share, I have nothing to lose. But if I don't share, he's going to lose a lot.
Yes.
So that was the thing that I did to overcome that fear.
Actually, like shift the perspective a bit, right? Yeah, it's not about me.
Yes.
So what he's like not hearing, so good. Yeah, what about you guys?
I also, sometimes when I talk to people, I appear very calm, but actually inside, I say, Holy Spirit, help me.
Yeah.
What do I say? Tell me.
Not
Give me
me.
wisdom. I really need it. I'm all desperate inside, but outside I'm, sure, and all that kind of thing. But he does help.
Yes.
And sometimes, you can't prepare for something like this, but you prepare in a sense of, the scriptures, you know what to share, you rehearse your story, your testimony.
Yeah.
But at that time, you just I say, Holy Spirit, you take over.
Yeah.
And he always does.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just being obedient, right? Like I love what you just said, just start. Sometimes it's about taking that first step and then, somehow like the pieces just fall after that, and then somehow it works out. And saying, hey, God, I trust you. Like if I open my mouth, you're going to lead me, right? And so maybe, we want to wrap up already. I've heard such inspiring, awesome testimonies from you guys. But is there something, maybe one piece of advice you would give to our friends who are listening, especially those who might be a bit fearful to take that first step, or a bit hesitant to share with that family member or that friend or even the stranger that they feel like, they should share with? Just one piece of advice for them.
I think for me, I would say the gospel is the power of God unto salvation.
Yes.
So it's in the message itself that has its own power, right? So it's not your eloquence, it's not your stringing of the right words together. It's just the simple sharing of the gospel, and it has its own power to achieve its own result.
Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, I want to add on to Brother Joseph because yes, the gospel defends itself. Like we don't have to defend the gospel.
Yeah.
And our job is to just do the scattering. God will do the saving.
Yeah, that's
good.
good. Yeah, that's good.
If you're hesitant, just do it. If you do it once or twice, then it'll become more natural and easy.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Nike says it best.
Just
do it, guys. It's quite straightforward, I think this is so useful and so practical for a lot of people listening who may struggle to even just take that first step, right? I think sometimes what you guys are sharing is so helpful. I think about this verse in Acts chapter 4, verse 20. It's beautiful because Peter and John were under pressure, right? They said, stop talking about Jesus. But their response is, we cannot stop telling about everything we have seen and heard. And I feel like that's what you guys are saying today, that, it overflows.
Yeah.
It comes out from my life, and so thank you so much for bringing your wisdom, for bringing your experiences, Joseph, Geraldine, and Jack, for sharing, just so much to learn from you guys, and I hope this motivates us to also continue to share the gospel. I think for those who have been in our regional services, you would have received a good news pack. And this good news pack is meant to equip you. Maybe you need that to take that first step, just like what, some of our guests here have spoken about. And that could be something that would help you to start sharing the gospel with somebody else. So don't wait another day. Yeah. And lastly, we have one final episode. Sadly, we've come to an end. And we want to dive a bit deeper, in this next episode about these challenges that we've talked about today and how can we overcome them? How can we really, say, okay, it's not about me anymore. I think some of the things that we're saying, but let's dive a bit deeper into those things, dealing with rejection, being more authentic. I know it's going to be so good and we'll have so much more to share then. Can't wait for that. We'll see you in the next episode.